Have you been in the most amazing relationships? Or maybe you are right now just looking for one. Well, what can I say? Today I have an absolutely amazing guest with me. Probably you heard about him, or maybe you read an amazing book called Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. I have today John Gray with me, who is the probably the most amazing person to speak to when it comes to relationships. John, thank you so much for joining me today. And I'm so grateful and thankful for you coming on board and actually sharing all the wisdom with us today in the next an hour.
I'm very, very happy to be with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So, as long as I'm aware, we have around about 8 hours difference, right? Which is
That's
quite
correct.
confusing.
Yes, yes.
So, what is the weather like there right now? Is it sunny? Is it cold? What is it like?
It's perfect. It's sunshiny. It's t-shirt weather, and I'll
Oh,
go swimming after our interview.
oh, that is so amazing. Well, I've got great news because actually, even though in UK it's usually quite cold, could be raining, today actually is really good weather as well. So it's good. It's a good start. Anyways, John, what made you to write these two amazing books? Because this book, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus, is definitely a Bible of all relationships. But I know right now on your website, you have another book, which is about the relationship in a new modern world, right? And what made you write these two books? Like, how did you come across so much knowledge and so much wisdom, which is in these two books?
Well, there's an evolution, and actually, I've written 26 books, but the most important books are Men Are From Mars and Beyond Mars and Venus, which
Yeah.
is 25 years later, because relationships have changed. But in between, I've written about Mars, Venus in the bedroom, Mars, Venus on a date, Mars, Venus as parents, Mars, Venus married together forever. There's a whole series of Mars, Venus, and then there's also books on meditation and various other things, success. Uh, but my main message from me is relationships. And I didn't always know that. I grew up in a very happy family. My parents stayed together and they loved each other a lot. I had good role models. Okay, so I was actually surprised that people had so many problems. That kind of made me want to be a therapist. But for 9 years, I was a monk. I went off to, my mother was very spiritual. My father was very spiritual. And I grew up in Houston, Texas, and my mother had a spiritual bookstore with Eastern thought and astrology books, palm reading books, esoteric wisdom, occult knowledge, all kinds of things. This is what I grew up with, her bookstore. And
Wow.
my dad, he studied the Kabbalah, and he was a Christian, but he studied the Kabbalah. He had maybe 100 books on the Kabbalah, and that's a Jewish mysticism.
Yeah, yeah.
And he also taught me yoga when I was 3 years old. So we all meditated, we did yoga. This is in Texas. Nobody did it,
It's
but
unbelievable.
it was we were a rare family, I'll tell you that. So anyway, so back in the 60s, we were all getting high. This is the rock and roll bands and so forth. And the Beatles and the Rolling Stones had gone to India to be with the Maharishi of India and of transcendental meditation. And so that popularized meditation. And uh, after Woodstock, everybody got very high, you go way down. And then I learned about meditation and I learned transcendental meditation. And I kind of extremist. I go for things 100%. I drive fast, maybe too dangerously. I don't anymore, but I'm lucky to be alive. Uh, but I went 100% into transcendental meditation and became Maharishi's personal assistant. I became a Hindu monk, a celibate
Wow.
for 9 years. As a teenager, I was sexually active. I love sex today. Even I have sex every day. I love sex, but I gave it up for 9 years and learned to be spiritual. Uh,
Wow.
and it had many, many benefits. I mean, but what I learned most of all through meditation, and today I meditated average 4 hours a day, particularly now with COVID, I get more time to meditate. So I'm really happy. If you learn how to meditate, it can actually help you find a source of happiness
Yeah, yeah.
inside. And that's really important. There's nothing wrong with having the outer world make you happy. Every day I go driving in my convertible Bentley.
Beautiful. Wonderful.
It's a wonderful experience. Okay. So it makes me happier, but my happiness actually comes from inside.
Yeah.
Uh, and that just amplifies it. And so here I was, a monk, and I'm very, very happy. I was very successful, very good at what I did then. But my brother was bipolar, and he needed some help and wasn't happy. And I tried with meditation to heal him, to help him, and it didn't work. So I was very fulfilled, kind of living in my life, teaching meditation, being Marshy's assistant, running his company, so to speak. And I just gave it all up and said, I'm going to California to study psychology to help my brother. Because
Wow.
truly, what we're here for, part of what inner happiness does, it reveals to you your mission. My mission, I needed to help my brother. So
Yes.
I went and studied psychology, and to make money, I became a counselor and discovered I'm really good at that. And I saw that everything I'd learned in school was wrong. Not everything, but
Well,
they were all teaching that men and women are the same. Men and women are the same.
yes.
And to me, it was just obvious common sense that men and women are very different.
Yes.
And by that time, I'd gotten married, and my wife, we had normal kind of challenges couples have. We loved each other, had great sex, and sometimes we argued and fought. And the women that would come into my office as a counselor all had the same complaints that my wife had. It was like they were all married to me.
Remarkable.
They would say things like, he doesn't listen, he doesn't appreciate me, he's not attentive, he's changed, he's not romantic. And I'm kind of going, are all men like me? And then they would also say things like, he doesn't love me. And I went, well, of course I love my wife. So the women had a lot of misinterpretations of male behavior. And I realized as a man that women were different. If people have different complaints, if there's group A and group B, and group B has all the same complaints, and group A doesn't have those complaints, these are two different worlds.
I love
And
that.
and an example of that, a playful example of that is one day, it just so happened on that day, maybe for my clients, women, they all said the same thing. They said, John, the only time my husband touches me is when he wants to have sex. They were complaining their husbands weren't affectionate. The only time he touches me is when he wants sex. And that day, and I just took it in, and then I came into the kitchen to be affectionate to my wife, because I was hearing all these women say they need more affectionate. So I said, okay, she needs more affectionate. So I waited to be affectionate with my wife, and my wife says, the only time you touch me is when you want sex.
No way. I
So
love that.
I said, all right, I have to really get understanding of this whole
Wow.
affection thing. And that's what led me back in 1990, before it was well known that this hormone oxytocin
Yeah.
is very important for women, but not important for men. And some people say it's important for men, but it's not. I have the research showing it actually can make men grumpy and irritable and passive. And biologically, which we'll get into, which is my new book, Beyond Mars and Venus, is these differences are actually very biological.
Right.
But anyway, I found out that hugging stimulates oxytocin, and oxytocin lowers women's stress levels.
Yeah.
Oxytocin doesn't lower a man's stress level. So we're not always looking for opportunities to create oxytocin. As a matter of fact, too much oxytocin puts us to sleep. That's why when a man has an orgasm, a huge amount of oxytocin is released out of his body and he goes to sleep.
Exactly.
Whereas for her, she often wants to cuddle more because she's just released her oxytocin and needs to make more. So she wants physical touch. Cuddling is a very powerful oxytocin stimulator. Then years later, I kept searching. Why? What does it do? Well, oxytocin is produced when you feel safe. But then when you feel safe, what happens is your testosterone levels go down.
Mm-hmm.
One of the causes of stress for women is when their testosterone goes high. Yeah. For men, when testosterone goes high, it actually lowers his stress. For women, when testosterone goes high, it raises her stress.
Right.
And oxytocin lowers testosterone. But low testosterone isn't the only reason women feel better. It's the testosterone makes them stressed because testosterone lowers estrogen.
Right.
Estrogen is when a woman feels safe, then she can feel, I can depend on you.
Yes.
If she feels I can depend on you, then her estrogen goes up. So
Mm.
oxytocin is generating a chemical of safety. And if you're safe, you're going to produce it. But if you're
Yes.
not safe, but somebody gives you a nice non-sexual massage,
Yeah.
a non-sexual touching, or non-sexual hug, there's actually a biological stimulation of this hormone, oxytocin, that for a woman and for a man will lower your testosterone and increase your estrogen. And estrogen is the hormone that women need in order to cope with stress. When a woman is experiencing cortisol, stress hormones,
Hmm.
her estrogen levels are going down. When a man experiences stress, his testosterone is
Goes up.
going down.
Right.
When a man experiences stress, his testosterone is going down like a seesaw, and his
Yeah.
estrogen's going up. So that's the
Yes.
imbalance for men. And for women, it's when her estrogen's going down, her testosterone's going up. It literally
Yeah.
pushes her estrogen down. So there's like a seesaw effect. And that's how men are just complete men and women are biologically wired up to be
Hmm.
different. Now, I didn't know all this the science of it. I had to find the science to justify all the statements I made in Men Are From Mars, because many women will read Men Are From Mars, particularly today, and they'll go, gee, I feel like he's describing me when he talks about Martians.
Oh, yes. Yeah. It's very common. Yeah.
Very, very common. Because when a woman is not depending on a man for something significant, her estrogen levels will go down,
Yeah.
and she will feel high testosterone. Now that can be caused by being married to a man who doesn't know how to listen, for example.
Yes.
He hasn't been taught how to listen. He listens, he thinks he listens. She says something, he says, oh, you shouldn't feel that way. He heard what you said, and now he tells you you shouldn't feel that way.
Yeah.
So if you're with a man who says that, or you get upset about something and he smiles and he says, that's silly, that's
Mhm.
ridiculous, don't worry about that, then it's not safe for you to let your estrogen go up. Because all emotions, whether they be happy ones, loving ones, or negative ones, are estrogen. Okay, when you express emotion, your estrogen goes up. So that's why therapy is such a big business, is women come
Mhm.
into the office and they express emotion and they pay you money. And there's two types of counseling I do. One is for men and one is for women. With men, it's particularly giving them strategies to be successful in their
Yes.
relationships or at work. Okay, strategies. What should I do? Because when you
Mhm.
know what to do, you feel confident that I can do something and get the result I want. That increases testosterone. Now, if you go to a therapist and you talk about your feelings more, and somebody
Mm.
understands why you feel and sees you as a good person and shows empathy for the pain you've gone through and hears what's going on in your life, and you feel seen and you feel heard,
Mhm.
those things are needs. And so
Yeah.
when you get that need fulfilled by somebody, then your estrogen goes up.
Mhm.
So women have a greater need than men, because they need more estrogen. See, the estrogen, a woman, if she's depressed, she has low estrogen. If a woman is happy, she has 10 times more estrogen than a man.
10 times. Wow.
Yes.
I didn't know
And
about 10 times. Okay.
you know how to look at that. You don't have to look at a study. You go to anytime you get your hormones tested, there's a little scale that says the normal
Right.
range for women is this range. The normal range for men is 1/10. And what we
Wow.
know is that when a man is angry, he has female hormone range.
No way. I didn't know
Yes,
that.
yes,
Wow, this
yeah.
is
Oh,
shocking.
this is shocking stuff. Is that, see, anger is female emotions, whether it be in a woman or
Wow.
whether it be in a man. It's the estrogen that produces the emotions, because estrogen is the
Wow.
part of it that says I need help. So if
Yes.
I'm not getting help, then I become angry, or I become sad, or I feel hurt, or I feel afraid, or I feel guilty, or I feel so. These are all our emotional reactions when we need help and we don't get
Yes.
it. If you don't feel I need anything, you're never emotionally upset, but you're never happy
Yeah.
either. Okay,
Exactly.
so need is, we all have desire, and desire comes from need. If we have a need, then we have a desire.
Yeah.
And people say, oh, I have no needs, I only have desires. I said, well, you're just not aware of the need. Many
Exactly.
women, this is the problem for many women is that they go, I don't need a man in my life. Because see,
Oh.
our whole history has been, why do you need a man? To make money
Mm,
for you. Okay, that's why
mm,
you need a man. My mother was very happy. She had 7 children. I never saw a day when she wasn't happy. We lived in a super
wow.
nice neighborhood because my dad had a really good job. They're both Stanford graduates, so they're educated. They grew up in good families. And so they weren't like desperate for money, which makes us feel selfish and
Yeah.
greedy. And, when people, bad such circumstances, but good environments raise happier people most of the time. So they had Stanford education. They lived in a nice neighborhood. There's a country club walking distance from our house. My mother afforded a nanny for the kids. So,
Wonderful.
a house just enough, not extravagant. Nothing was extravagant,
Yeah.
but the basics were. So she was happy. I mean, this lady, she would say to her boys, imagine 6 boys, 1 girl, but six
Oh,
boys, never getting stressed out because she could just go and play.
yeah.
And she loved to
Amazing.
cook. And her dream was to have children. That was
Yeah.
an old world. See, and then she had her bookstore. Even with her bookstore, she didn't do it to make money. I mean, she she had such a big library of mystical books that she bought another house and made a free lending library. And then people
Oh,
wanted to
wow.
order books. And then finally she started selling books because people would order them. And because they said, no, I want to keep your book. Because, well, no, you have to buy it then. So
Yeah.
it grew into the biggest spiritual bookstore in the country.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
it was, and never one advertising. It was in Houston, Texas. It was amazing. And she could care less about the money because she had a husband who made a good living. It wasn't extravagant, but it was very, very good. And
Yeah.
it was a safe neighborhood. It was recreation was safe. You could send the kids to the country
Yeah.
club. There was supervision for the kids. She had a community and she had abundance, so she could be generous with other mothers. So she had a community.
Exactly.
So, so I grew up in an environment which said that women are happy and men just have to work.
Yeah.
And you know what? If a man has a good job and gets paid and provides that for a woman in the old days, that was enough for women. Okay,
Exactly.
they weren't looking for romantic skills. They weren't looking for a husband that listens to them. They weren't they
Yeah.
weren't looking for a husband that will do domestic chores for them.
Yes.
They weren't looking for a man who was skilled in the bedroom. See, all these
Mm.
things, it was and nor was my father did he care that much about my mother's how many orgasms she's had or whatever. I don't know
Who
the intimate
knows?
details of their sex life. I
Sure.
certainly never found out. But if you go back a couple hundred years, and you ask men what makes sex great, it would be his performance. Okay,
Mm.
is what that he got sex. Okay, it wouldn't have been that the woman had this great out of her mind orgasm. Okay,
Yeah.
but today, I, see, after I've been a monk for 9 years and I'm studying psychology, I have to make a living. So part of it is my counseling practice, but two, the next part, well, I'm a student, is I said, well, I'm a good teacher of meditation. I'll just teach what I'm interested in now,
Yeah.
which was sex. If you haven't had sex in 9 years, then
What
you're
can you
really
teach?
interested in sex. and and so before I got married, I had a lot of girlfriends. And what I would do is say to them, I've been a monk for 9 years. I don't know much about sex. I need you to teach me. So,
No way.
yes, yeah. And so because I'd been a monk, it gave me permission to say that. Most
Of
men, if you
course.
say that to a woman, she expects you to know what you're doing and whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but I learned so much about sex interviewing women before I had sex with them. All right, we start having sex now. I need you to teach me what feels good. Now I'm touching your clitoris. Now is it this side or is it this side? Now when I'm doing like
Right.
this, and then she's moaning and I said, now let's stop for a moment. I want to know what just happened. So I analyzed that. So I thought
Love that.
this was so great. And I thought, what a great idea for teaching classes. I would basically tell everybody, I've been doing this for the last year and I've learned so much by having conversations about sex. So this workshop is not so much looking at me as an expert on sex, but we're all experts in what makes us happy. So let's have a conversation about it. And
Yeah.
so I would facilitate these conversations because once people start going, then the
Oh,
shyness,
yeah.
the embarrassment is gone. And
Yeah.
all these great conversations, which if people want to know the information of that, is in Mars, Venus in the Bedroom. Wonderful book, and which makes it easy to talk about sex in a very conversational, playful, artistic way. But having said all that, that was a stage that I went through. and you asked me about developing how men are from Mars develop, is that sex is, once you learn how to do it, it's really great. The bottom line for men, which is interesting, is that every man's most successful sex experience was her orgasm. It wasn't his.
Right.
He wasn't talking about his orgasm. He's talking about her orgasm.
Right.
And that's different from the traditional man. That's how men have changed. Women say, we're the romantic men. I say, are you kidding? Men are so much more concerned about your happiness than men ever were. And they often say, what happened to the romantic men? And Romeo and Juliet. I say, Romeo and Juliet died the day after they got married. Yes, a horny guy is very romantic, but once he's married, all that goes away. And everybody knew that. You didn't expect romance. Today, we want it. And if we don't get it, we're unhappy. See, that's the difference. In the past, if people didn't get it, they weren't unhappy. That's just life.
Yes.
That's my parents. Dad doing his job, her doing his job. They're both responsible for their happiness. Me being a monk for 9 years, I'm always responsible for my happiness because I know how to do it. All I have to do is close my eyes and I can be happy. So what would happen is we'd get in little arguments. I would then say, okay, I just need to go meditate. And that became what I call the cave. I just need to forget all my problems. And that's what meditation is. You forget everything. You go inside, you're happy. So then every time, what I didn't know then, but now I know, is when you meditate, your testosterone comes back up if you're a man. And when your testosterone comes up, your stress level goes down, your heart opens. And now when you have a high level, we'll call it a higher than normal level of testosterone, then you can integrate a higher than normal level of estrogen. The estrogen, love, power. Those are your two sides. Attachment, detachment.
Yes.
Well, women want is attachment. I want affection, hugs, kissing, touching, loving, interacting, connecting. That's attachment. That's what marriage is. You're mine. You're mine. You're my husband. You're my wife. But the spiritual teaching of the past and the meditation teaching is detachment. But the art of living, the art of relationships is to be attached and detached at the same time, which is you're mine and I'm yours and we're one, but I don't seek to control you in any way.
Yeah.
You can be you. You can be you. I love you. If people are always trying to change their partner, any complaint you have is you're trying to change your partner. You're not loving them. And we feel so justified in our complaints. Let me emphasize this. Yes, objectively, yes, you have a right to complain. He's always late. That was one of my wife's complaints. Well, he's always late. You have a right to complain. You have a right to be upset. I said, yeah, you have a right to, but you don't have to be. That's who he is. Except that there's so many other good things about it. Life is millions of problems all the time, things that we can't change, we seem to accept. If you can't change it, you like going through that ridiculous thing at the airport where they test you. That's the silliest thing. All these frightened people think it's useful. It's not useful. Your chances of a hijack are so low. It's so absurd. Okay, but everybody just mindlessly obeys. Okay, so to me, I remember the first time they made me go through, I went through that. This is a fun story of my marriage. Okay, so you go through that thing and the bell goes off. I watched how 3 people ahead of me had gone through and the bell went off and there was nothing on their body. They checked and everything. So clearly at that moment, something was malfunctioning, right?
Yeah.
So I went through and it went off and I said, excuse me, your machine is broken. It's not me. You should fix your machine. And they said, well, maybe it's broken, but don't you still think we should still try? I said, no, I think the whole thing is absurd anyway. And then as soon as I did that, oh, you don't think we need this? You're opposing us? Oh, please, everybody want to put me in jail. It was, my wife was, John, don't speak, don't speak, don't speak. Don't say, he doesn't know what he's saying.
He's drunk. He's drunk.
He's drunk. Okay. Anyway, I defy authority. That's why I can teach what I do. So many stupid things we're taught. Okay, reality. We are taught so many stupid things. And while we're talking stupid things, let me just take a moment of thanking Sweden during the COVID, how they have not done this ridiculous thing of shutting down all businesses.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
this
that's
is like
another
absurdity.
thing.
And in America, the statistics with COVID, with every flu, a really bad flu is 0.1%. That's it. Dot. Okay. It's still 0.1%. It's the same thing. It's faster. So there was some wisdom in New York where there's a lot of pollution. And the
Yeah.
cities where the Wuhan has the most pollution of any city in
Mm-hmm.
China. New York has the most pollution. In places where there's pollution, this particular flu does activate it quickly, and therefore the hospitals could be overcharged. So we need to prepare the hospitals for this sort of thing, as opposed to putting people out of their homes, because there's not going to be more people that die from it than any other flu. Statistically, that's accurate right now, and it's always the case. This is just a bad flu. Coronavirus, we have them all the time. It's a flu.
Mm.
And the people that are, what you don't hear, I'm sorry to go off the track, but it is in everybody's
Okay.
minds right now. The
It
people
is
who are most,
definitely.
we have to be recognized, the vulnerability. Some people are vulnerable to this, they need to protect. But wearing masks doesn't protect them.
Mm-hmm.
Masks do not stop viruses. Okay. There's no data ever proven. Even the Fauci guy in America who's telling everybody wear masks. First, he said, don't wear masks because they don't do anything, because they don't. If you have a plastic mask in front of you, it can stop a virus. And
Mm.
nor do you need to stop a virus, except if you're in a concentrated hospital where there's a lot of it, then it can have a
Mm.
bigger effect on you. So you need to have this very powerful protection. But if these things over your mouth and the mouth, this is completely doesn't do anything. So he said, first he says, you don't have to do it. Then he says, well, you can do it for others who are more vulnerable. You don't want to spray them with the virus. The virus basically is there anywhere. It travels the world. It will go to Africa. It will go to everywhere, not just from airplanes. It
Mm-hmm.
will go, viruses go in the air currents. And they also flow through any kind of protective
Exactly.
barrier, except for very few. So this doesn't do anything. Then the last time he said, well, I don't do it to protect myself. I do it to protect others. Then he went to, now he's saying, well, I do it to protect myself and protect others, but it doesn't really fully work. But it's the spirit of the thing. It's the ideal that we're holding up. This is ridiculous.
The
Everybody wearing masks.
confusion.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just, now we're going to have a big war in America, the people that wear masks and the people who don't, because we're going to sue. I'm the people who don't wear masks, okay? And we're going to sue because it's against our right, okay? It's a
Mm.
complete overreach of the government to do it, and there's no data to support it. Give me some data, and I'll
Yeah.
do something. But this is all make believe. Okay, now let's apply this now to our relationships. Our
There we
relationships
go.
they're always based upon false information appearing real. That's why Mars Venus has been so helpful. When a man
Mm.
goes to his cave, he's just being Buddha for a little while. He needs to forget his problems. Why do men need to do that? Because when men can do that, first of all, women have a hard time doing that.
Oh, yeah.
And so men can do it. We're designed to do it because when we're upset, it's because our testosterone is low, our estrogen is high. That's a
Mm.
cortisol response. This always happens in men. When there's a stress hormone, testosterone's going down, estrogen's going up. For women, when there's a cortisol response, testosterone's going up,
Yeah.
estrogen's going down. Estrogen is that part of it that says, I need help.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can get help, my estrogen goes up. All right. And I'm a woman for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
If I can get help, I'm safe, I have support, it's there, or I could be even in danger, but I'm being protected.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big estrogen producer. Oh, so I'm wearing that mask is going to help produce estrogen for women, but not good for you, by the way, because what happens is you're breathing in your own carbon dioxide, which is poisonous and acidic to your body. So it's like we're supposed to breathe out and then breathe in. We're breathing in our own exhaled breath. I said it's toxic. It's not comfortable. And even for people that believe about touching, now they're coming out saying it doesn't live on surfaces. But if you even believed in touching, I see people adjusting their mask all the time. They're constantly touching their face. And what people have to know as well, Perel, the whole thing about putting the sanitizer on your hand. What
Oh,
people
yes.
don't know is that as soon as you put that on your hand, it kills all bacteria on your hand and viruses on your hand. And 10 minutes later, you have more. It's in the air. You can measure the bacterial activity when they have machines that can measure bacterial activity. Clean the bacteria off your hand. What you end up with is now a grocery store. You've just killed that bacteria. Now, 20 seconds of rubbing does knock off some of that bacteria. But when you kill it with that Perel thing, you just got dead bacteria, which is food for other bacteria, and they bring the viruses with them. There's all such cuckoo-ness. It's not based on real science. This is all make-believe. And they exaggerate. And on the news, they keep saying how many people died from COVID. Very few people die from COVID. They die with COVID. See, now the media is saying it's COVID, they're dying from COVID. I watched the distinction, but the government, when the government lady stands up there and she says, she said in one talk, she says, we're reporting COVID deaths in a very liberal way. Anyone who dies with COVID, we say has died from COVID.
Oh, fabulous.
And
Let's just rephrase it.
because they're not dying from COVID, they're dying with COVID. They just
Yeah.
got the flu. Most people who are sick die from the flu. Okay, flu kills the flu every year. In 2018, more people die from the flu than this one will produce. Okay, from the flu, because they already have pre-existing conditions. That's the
They
whole
do.
thing. And what people need to know, the most vulnerable people are people who are taking blood pressure medicines. They're not telling you that in the news. Alternative doctors are telling you that, because blood pressure medicines, things that lower your blood pressure, it's called upregulate receptor sites in your lungs that will then capture those viruses. So you end up capturing more into your body because you're taking a drug. It's the
Right.
drugs that people are taking. CDC also has a report that's online which shows that if you took a flu vaccine the year before a flu epidemic, your chances of getting the flu are greater if you took the flu vaccine the year before. Because
Oh,
what you've
wow.
done with a flu vaccine is you're not allowing your immune system to update itself against all of the evolving viruses on the planet. The immune system has to continue to grow. You know, when I was a child, we had measles parties, smallpox parties. We wanted our children to get these diseases so that our
Exactly.
immune system would get stronger, and then we're free for the rest of our life. So,
Yeah.
you know, we've gone in the wrong direction. We've gone in the direction of fear. Everything is, you can't do it yourself. You're dependent on somebody else to protect you, instead of our own ability, our autonomy. And that's what independence is our autonomy. So when we come to the relationship problems during COVID, when couples are together, there's more violence that's happening now. The
Yes.
police are telling me this. And there's more divorce in China after they started coming out. And Wuhan, I teach in Wuhan. I was there in December, actually. In Wuhan, they have lots of problems in China, but they stay married. And the average Wuhan, well, no, they also have rising divorce, maybe about 25%. But in Wuhan, it went from 12 divorces a week to, when they're coming out now, 300 divorces a week.
A
Okay, it
week.
magnified a week. Yes, it's just
Wow.
huge number of people, because there was violence. You don't want to stay with somebody with
Yeah.
violence. That becomes a
No.
trauma.
Yeah.
And it's not even who that person is. The worst of people come out at these situations. And I want to explain why that is the case. And I want to also mention that also when people misbehave, when they're really awful, humans can be so awful and so amazingly wonderful. But when people are awful, we often say, oh, they showed their true colors. The
Yeah.
real person came forth. No, that's not the real person. The real person is not that person. That's the person they become when they're biologically, when their hormones go out of balance and cortisol levels rise to a higher level. When cortisol rises, this is reality. This is the biochemistry of the body. When it generates a fight or flight response or a fake and fold response,
Yeah.
that's also a cortisol response. More so on the female side, faking is pretending everything's okay, and
Yeah.
folding is letting someone control you, just giving in. Or you fight and you flight. But testosterone is more the fight or flight, and the estrogen side of us, we have more of that, is more the fold and fake. Anyway, so we got really 4 different stress responses psychologically to a biological phenomena when we interpret reality wrong. Okay, whenever we misinterpret reality to be worse than it is, and that's what we do all the time. So we're doing right now with COVID. That's what couples do when they have arguments and fights. They
Yeah.
misinterpret each other. They see the worst rather than what's really there. So when we escalate that, the cortisol levels go higher and higher. What escalates it, by the way? If a man expresses any emotion with words, negative emotion with words, when man uses words to express a negative emotion, his estrogen levels go up and his testosterone goes down.
Right.
Now, why do men articulate their emotions in words? Usually women ask them questions. Why didn't you do that? Well, how could you love me? Who would do that? You should do this. I can't see why you were that. All this engagement and conversation when cortisol levels are elevated will only elevate it more. Men need to stop talking. if they're upset and stressed. That means don't talk.
Yeah.
Women, don't ask him questions.
Mm-hmm.
Don't interact. Don't do things for him. Don't
Mm-hmm.
do anything to make him happy. You're just trying to change him. Let him deal with what he deals with alone. You're not his mother. If you do any of that, you make it worse.
Yeah.
But see, women think, oh, I'm so loving. I do all these things. I'm trying to communicate. We need to talk about this. No, you're
Let's
making it worse.
cuddle.
Yes. And he definitely doesn't need cuddling at that time. That's going to raise estrogen, lower testosterone. He needs to rebuild his testosterone. So that's for men. Now for women, they need the opposite. They actually need to connect. He needs to detach. She needs to attach. She needs to connect, but not with him. She thinks she has to connect with him. No, you've got 100 other things in your life you can attach yourself to. Your garden, nature. You can sing with a group of women. You can clean your house. You can do beautiful things. You can do all these things that women used to do all day long,
Yeah.
but now are not as fulfilling. And I honor that. You see, women used to be relegated just to their female side. Men were relegated just to their male side. Men, you need to do what needs to be done, and we don't care about your happiness. Therefore, work conditions have been awful for men. Why? Because men suck it up and get the job done. We don't care about you. We care about the results. And that's what men bought into. They still do.
Still
To a
do
great
exactly the
extent.
doers.
Yeah. We don't care about you. Get the job done. Results matter. That's it. You want to get paid, you do it. We don't care about you. Okay. So that's what men put up with. And on the female side, women got to do the things that they didn't want to do. Men did those things, and women did things to care and love and nurture and support. And it wasn't that men are victims, by the way. Men were okay. We bought into that system because if we did those things that we didn't want to do, but it paid us, we could then give that to our wives and our children.
Yeah.
And that brought us fulfillment. So that was basically achieve your goals so you get paid. Then you can do something loving with it. Then your estrogen levels can come up and balance your testosterone. Now that is all how it used to be. And it worked out that way because we didn't have birth control. Basically, women were making babies all the time. They needed to be on that, and men need to protect them and provide to them. You can't go out and do some awful, construction job if you're pregnant or you're got babies. You got to have guys doing that. So here you get these two worlds that we lived in. And then there was an evolution, and the evolution is actually spiritual. With a higher consciousness, a more connectivity to our higher self, civilization, wisdom, intelligence, and so forth. We now connect with spirit, and spirit is actually non-gender. So I'm both masculine and feminine. So if I'm spiritual, then it's too restricting for me just to do these crummy jobs and get paid for it. I want to have fun in my life. I want to have love in my wife. I don't want to have sex just for myself. I want to give her orgasms. That's my female side coming in. So I want to be more. I want to be both my male side and my female side. And she wants to be not just this nurturing, loving being. She also wants to do the tough stuff. She says, I want to get out there. I want to be powerful. I want to make a difference. And so that was great. But then once she's over there, it's hard for her to get back. And once he's over on this female side, hard for him to get back. So let me give you a practical example of this imbalance. This is very common. Men and women, you come home, he sits on the couch, he's got magnets on his butt and he can't get up.
That's true. And there's a TV on.
He's glued, they say glued to the tube. He's glued to the tube.
Yes.
He's literally in the tube, glued to the tube. My vision of it is sucking on a nipple, actually. He's totally dependent on that for his happiness.
Right.
He goes right over, I can't do anything. I'm dependent. And if you say for him to do something, for him, it's like, mañana, do I really have to do it? So what?
Exactly.
Do it tomorrow, put it off. Okay, and I'm doing extremes here to make the point. So he's got magnets on his butt. He's glued to the tube. She is the opposite. She is overwhelmed. Her brain is filled with, well, he's not doing anything, so I have to do this. And he says to her, honey, just relax, sit down, enjoy yourself. She can't. She can't relax, just like he can't get up. You see, we're out of balance. It's like if you're way out of balance, you can't pull yourself back up. You're going to fall down. There's just too much. Once you go to the tipping, there's something called the tipping point. When you get to the tipping point, you can't come back into balance. And
That's
that's
so
what's
true.
happened to women. They're way on their male side. Men are way on their female side. And remember what female side is? It's a part of us that needs help to be happy. Okay, I need
Mm-hmm.
help. Now, what is sugar? Sugar is I need help to be happy. We have an addiction to
Pretty
sugar.
much.
Sweets.
Yes.
We
Chocolate.
eat too much.
Chocolate.
Yeah. Okay. And there's nothing, moderation is fine. We need, but we shouldn't need too much.
Mhm.
Okay. So what happens is we eat too much. We eat the wrong things. We know they're the wrong things, but we do it. We're dependent on those things to make us happy. That's over dependence on things that don't make us happy. Well, men get over dependent on alcohol, and
Mm-hmm.
that inhibits their ability to have testosterone. Alcohol lowers testosterone.
It does, yeah.
So basically, a little alcohol actually helps him to relax and have fun doing something and as cave time, but too
Mm-hmm.
much prevents him from rebuilding his testosterone. So be a little personal here. If I drink too much, I can't go like this in the bedroom.
Aha, there we go. Now we know why these things happen.
Drinking too much produces estrogen in a man's body and prevents this. A little estrogen's okay, settles him down, calms him, little cave time activity, but then too much pushes his testosterone way down. He can't rebuild his testosterone. So well, women are stuck over there on their male side. So how to help women come back to their female side, how to help men come back to their male side, that's the
Exactly.
subject beyond Mars and Venus. But Mars and Venus is still relevant because it helps us to correctly interpret our partner's behaviors when they're doing these sort of characteristic traditional male behaviors, which is if a man works hard, he typically needs to take cave time to rebuild his testosterone. If a woman works hard, she needs to come back to her female side. She feels stressed. She needs to talk about her feelings. If she can talk about feelings to somebody who listens, with estrogen will go up. The problem is men don't know how to listen to women. So she talks
Yeah,
about her feelings. He tries to solve it, push it away, minimize it, make fun of it. So she doesn't feel safe to go there. If she doesn't feel safe to share her feelings, she's caught in her male side. And she feels going to her female side is weakness and whatever. It's vulnerability. And she's afraid of her vulnerability, that if she reveals what's
yeah,
inside, she will be rejected, which is why we all wear clothes. You know, we
yeah,
wear clothes not just to protect us. We don't want people to see our body. You know, we can make ourselves look
exactly.
really good, and we can, that's okay. That's okay. You only want to undress with somebody who loves you unconditionally. And
That's
you
very
know they
true.
love you and they love you. And I'll just toss this in for the women listening. What you need to know is if a man has picked you to marry, he's married you, you are his angel. But if another
Mhm.
woman walks by, that woman is new and different. It's kind of like you're working, if you're in a garden, you love roses, but then you see some other flower, you go, oh, that's a beautiful flower too. And that's a
Yeah,
beautiful flower too. He's naturally, men are way more visual when it comes to sex. And so he's going to see that. That's new and different, new and different. But those are just different flowers. He forgets them
yeah.
immediately. They're gone. It doesn't mean he doesn't love her. But if he's
Mm.
looking, she interprets it that he doesn't love me or I'm not beautiful enough for him. So my word of advice to women is to know the truth of men. If they're looking, it's their nature. That's why he looked at you to start with. Okay. And he's not in his mind comparing like you. See, women
Yeah.
compare all the time. You
Very
compare.
true.
He's not doing it. He's just going, what a beautiful flower. He's not going, gee, that flower is more beautiful than my flower. He's not doing
Yeah.
that. And what you know as a woman, what you don't know because you're not a man, if you're the only naked woman in the room, to him, you're the most beautiful woman in the world.
Hmm.
That's what women don't get. Their body, the curves, the fluidity.
Yeah.
That's if he's married you and you're naked, you are the most attractive thing in the world to him, but only if you're also loving him. So
Yes.
theoretically, you shouldn't undress in front of somebody unless you feel safe,
Of
unless you
course.
feel they love
Yeah.
you. So it's kind of a catch-22, is that you don't want to undress because you think you're not beautiful enough. And then, but actually you are beautiful enough. But if you think you're not beautiful enough, then you're afraid, then he's not going to be so turned on to you because you don't want to
Yeah.
show yourself. You want to hide
Yeah.
yourself. So there's a wisdom to all of this, which is the whole thing about slowly undressing. See, it's like instead of just putting it all out there. Go through the time for her to not, because no woman, a woman looks at her body and she sees all the flaws. That's just who you are. A man, we look at our body. I could be overweight, although I'm not. I could be overweight, and and I go lift some barbells and I go, look at that, look at that, look at
Yeah,
that
there we
body.
go.
You see these
Exactly.
guys, they got big bellies or whatever. They go, but look at that, look at that, you know.
I love that.
This
That's
is a
true.
guy. And a woman could be beautiful, but she says, oh, but look at this, or look at this, or look
Yes.
at this, hiding all these different things. And okay, yes, people out in the world, they're judgmental and they're always going to look at the prettiest and whatever. But in an intimate relationship with the lights down a little bit and wearing something that makes you feel sexy and beautiful and slowly taking it off. So each time you as a woman are reassured that he is desiring you, that you are desired and you are desired, then you begin to move from your head into your heart. And hopefully you're already in your heart before you get to
Yeah,
that
of
place.
course.
And the way you get to your heart is getting him to do things for you. Okay. Is we have to understand the whole science of this. It's not what he did for you. He has to do things for you that day. You have to actually experience him doing things for you and be aware of what he's doing for you. Or if you went shopping and he's the main money provider, you're in your mind, you're going, yeah, I can buy this because my wonderful husband is out there doing something
Yeah.
for me. But when you're also out there doing stuff and he's doing stuff for the money, that doesn't work anymore. You see, as soon as women become independent, men are to a certain extent
Yes.
impotent to make women happy unless we're actually doing something for her. Are we planning to do something for her? I remember one time, for example, whenever a woman feels a man is caring for her, putting forth effort for her, giving his time for her, thinking of her well-being, recognizing, respecting her needs and her
Hmm.
wishes, and knowing her. All of those things are estrogen stimulators. Now, so one time it's an anniversary, and I'm going to find the perfect place for all of our children and our grandchildren to come, and uh, and also get a good deal, because she always likes me to get a good deal. See, I don't care about a good deal. I make so much money. I just happy. But if I'm doing
Yes.
something for her, I want it to be a good deal because
Oh, sweet.
she likes
She
good
likes that.
deals. So I'm going to go shopping and find something great and then negotiate the price down. And she hears me trying to get the prices down. And so I waited for the weekend. I spent all day and half of the next day. And I reported to her. I said, look what I found. I got this great deal. It's in Mexico. We're going to go here. We got this. I got arranged all these things. And she said, oh, this is just so amazing. I don't know why. I don't know why. I just feel like taking off my clothes.
Because it's hard for her, because she felt you being masculine, you being decisive. You made it happen. And this
That's
what
right.
turns women on. Yeah.
Yeah. And so she just, because see, women are constantly protecting, and clothing is
Yeah.
one form of protection, having a good attitude, looking a certain way, the makeup women put on, you know, everything to give them confidence, but it's all protecting them from being hurt. And to feel that somebody is doing that for you, there's no need. I don't need to do all of this. I can just do this.
Yes.
It was just so amazing. It was the best, one of the best sex I ever had, right there on the floor in front of the computer. See, sexual arousal for women is increasing estrogen. That's
Yes.
what sexual arousal is. But only is it sexual arousal once her estrogen is 10 times higher than a man's average estrogen. 10 times higher is where a woman has well-being.
Mm.
Then when it goes higher than 10 times to 20 times higher, that's sexual arousal. And that will generally happen without behavioral skills in a woman, unless she's pushing it down by being too masculine. That happens when she ovulates. So you can measure a woman's ovulation. Is it from 5 days after her period, after the end of her period? Now the estrogen levels are going to start rising more at an accelerated pace until they double in size.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when she ovulates. Her body requires that to be recognized. I am a healthy woman.
Yeah.
You know, nature, in a sense, this is the way some people talk about it. Once you can't make babies, what is nature? What use does it have for you, basically? So when women go to menopause, uh, the body that no longer has the eggs which produce the
Yeah.
estrogen, they can still make estrogen and trick the body by generating twice as much estrogen as normal for them. But it's a new normal. The new
Mm-hmm.
normal for women through menopause is their body still can make estrogen from the adrenal gland. But if the adrenal gland's making testosterone, which is where women make testosterone from, they make it, if they're making testosterone, it's very hard to make estrogen. So that's
Right.
where women have to be very careful to, at that, once they go through menopause, to continue nurturing those behaviors that would increase estrogen. And then
Yeah.
they can double their new level of estrogen occasionally, which says to the body, oh, you're still able to make babies, even though you can't make babies. The
Yes.
same thing for men. If men who stop having sex, they all die. You know, they they don't have a statistic on that, so I can't give you raw data on that. But we have data. Insurance companies have data that says that when a man quits his job, okay, when he retires from his job, and you're looking at averages, most men, you know, they go to work every day and they have a job, and then they come home, and when they quit that job, they have 3 years before they die, or at least
Mm-hmm.
they have a heart attack. So this is typical, because
Yeah.
that feeling of I have to get up and do something,
Yes.
which is difficult, challenging, or whatever, actually stimulates testosterone if they also,
Yeah.
if they're successful at it. But once you feel, oh, I made all this money, I don't have to work anymore, your testosterone levels go down. This is what happens. And that's why there was a thing a long time ago, we had the Playboy. Now most men are Playboys. This young generation, they just want to play. They're playing video games
Exactly.
all the time. They're doing internet porn. You know, getting a woman to
Yeah.
have sex with you takes a little work, you know. But here's the highest level, is when you are, testosterone is in such a good place where you're doing things for her. Her heart is open. She's
Yes.
now going to make estrogen so that she now wants to have sex with you. Not because we should have sex, because her body
Mhm.
says, I want sex. When a woman's estrogen doubles, she actually, what can happen then is when it goes really high, then her testosterone goes up 10 to 20, 30 times higher than it ever goes up doing anything. It will shoot up because her estrogen's so high, the testosterone can rise. See, if estrogen goes up, testosterone goes down in men. And for women, if estrogen goes up, now it's so high, bring in some
Mhm.
testosterone to bring it down from being so high. So now her sex drive increases.
Yes.
So when a woman has lots of estrogen and a life where she feels safe and less supported, she'll actually have a strong sex drive. Then
Mm.
you're the lucky man who can have sex every day because your wife wants to. She wakes you up
True.
doing things to make you want to have sex.
That's true. That's true.
But
And it's quite fascinating how when people have healthy, intimate life, how much better relationship they have as well, because it impacts their actual relationships, isn't it?
you know, it takes a lot of good communication skill to have a good sex life.
Mm.
And without a good sex life, forget about good communication.
Catch
It takes
22.
both. There's two sides to this whole thing. Mm, Very rare. I've kept 40 years. I've been doing this relationship stuff, helping people, going deep into what their issues are and their challenges are. Rarely does a couple have great sex and have any challenges. Now you could say, well, they don't have challenges and that's why they have great sex. But it's the great sex that completely, sex is a supercharger of emotional
Yeah.
stimulation, the right emotions. When a woman has a climax, her whole cells are all bathed
Mhm.
with estrogen. Her immune system is supported. Her happiness level goes up. Her sense of confidence increases. For a man, you know, I remember the first time I had sex with a girl as a teenager, I felt like a man. I felt like a lion.
Go. Yes.
It was such a shocking difference. I was no longer a little boy, you know, I was a lion. I was a man. It was striking difference. It was huge
Yeah.
because connecting with her, having that effect on a woman causes a man's testosterone to rise up,
Mm.
because always for men, the most success raises testosterone. And you can have success making money really inside, subconsciously, that means a woman is going to want you. That's the
Yes.
deep, these hormones are produced by the instinctive brain. And if you're the strongest monkey, all the females want you. You got the best genes. You got the best
Yes.
genes, you know, you've done well somehow. So it's women desiring you that increases testosterone more than anything. Now we have these psychological mechanisms, which is if I am successful at making money, then women will want me. And therefore making money gives you the result of a woman wanting you. And then so now your testosterone's high, you get married, a woman wants you, and then she doesn't want you anymore. Your testosterone
Mm.
levels take a huge dive. So typically, married men's testosterone levels stay low. If a man gets a divorce, they spike back up again.
It
Does
does,
not.
exactly. And then people say, oh, it's midlife crisis. No, it's not. It's just man has freedom to rebuild himself, and this is what he does.
That's right. That's right. And
Quite powerful.
I counseled a guy the other day, and he was saying, I got out of this relationship, and it happens to me every time, and I feel great. I feel great that I'm in it. And it wasn't even that bad of a relationship. And I said, why do you feel great? I feel like a man. I said, well, let's
Yes.
now define what it means to be a man. He said, I feel free. I said, yeah, because you're no
Yeah.
longer a people pleaser. You're not submitting yourself
Exactly.
all the time. But see,
Yeah.
I am a people pleaser part of the time. But then I have my own time. You see, it's a
Yeah.
balance of I want to do things. I want to make the most wonderful date for her and sex. I want to provide fulfillment for her. I want to. It's not just for my wife. I mean, I had my grandkids over. I made them fresh orange juice. I made fruit. I went to the store. I want them to have a memorable experience, and I was happy every moment of it because I'm going to have anticipate helping others. Helping others is our nature as human beings. We're on this planet to help each other. So for all you depressed people who go, why am I here? Because people, when they're depressed, they always go, why am I here?
Exactly.
Why am I? It's existential thinking. What is the purpose of all this? I've given you the answer. The purpose is to help each other. So go
Yes.
out, start helping people, and you'll see that question will go away because the answer is
Exactly.
there. You only have the question when you stop helping people. And for that's, and I'm talking as a man, I'm helping people. But for women, more important than that is I'm here to help people, but I need help to help
Yes.
people. So I
Yeah.
need to help. I need to get help. I'm doing too much on my own. I'm helping too many people and nobody's helping me. I give so much to other people, but what about me? I don't have any time for me. That's a woman's depression. She doesn't get the help that she
Yeah.
needs to feel good. And it used to be the help women needed was very clear, concrete. I need a man to have a job to take care of me while I raise my children. Okay, done. But today, you don't need a man for that. First of all, in America, you can get paid by the government to not have a husband.
Mm-hmm.
Just think about
Same in
that
England.
psychology. Yeah,
Yeah.
just don't get married and the government will pay you. Or get some guy to knock you up and then he'll pay you. But don't marry
Exactly.
him. Just come on. This is like, I know there's all these things. Well, what about the poor mother and she needs all, I say, okay, but why not give more incentives to people who stay married?
Yes. Yeah,
Why don't we
exactly.
or to take classes on staying married?
Yes.
Get a license, a real license to get married. You just have to sign your name. Why not take classes in it? Have somebody evaluate you. Now, you shouldn't have somebody have that much control over you, but because we should be free. We're autonomous human beings.
Mhm.
We can make our own choices, but why not give incentives? Because rather than
Exactly.
give incentives to be divorced, give incentives to learn how to have better relationships and to stay together. We just go so much ignorance in this world. You look at why do we have so many problems? It's just lack of education, it's stupidity, foolishness, lack of data, selfishness, so many bad human characteristics coming out, controlling things. And what can correct that is love. And how do you
Yes.
find love? We'll call love heart opening. Heart cannot open unless blood flow goes to the front part of the brain.
Exactly.
Blood flow will not go to the front part of the brain if you're in an adrenaline or cortisol response. When you're in an adrenaline or cortisol response, for men and women, their hormones are out of balance. Where do you have to go if you're a man? You need to know what it means to be masculine. Go there.
Yes.
You need to know what it means to be feminine. Go there. And then find your balance, your heart will open, and then you'll make the right choices and decisions. And then this false data will be out there and you'll be able to question it and go, wait a second, do we really need to wear masks? Really, how
Yeah.
many more people really are dying? Can we look at the data of that and compare how many people are dying this month in New York City to last year? How many people died? And
Yes.
and how many in 3-month period, average it out, it's not even different if you compare it to 218, not 219. But some
Mm.
years are worse than others. It's just
Of course.
what is true about this virus is in polluted cities, there's a run on the hospital beds for this
Mm.
particular disease. So you want to try to slow it down in particular cities. And you can also warn people, instead of telling everybody to not go out, tell the people that are at risk to not go out. They're the ones you have to be careful with. They're the ones that need to have plastic masks. But you know what? Here's another thing. The people that are at risk are taking the high blood pressure medicine. They don't want to tell everybody, don't take your high blood pressure medicine. Okay. Now, why don't they want to tell people that? Because you could get a heart attack without your high blood pressure medicine.
Exactly.
Or
Yeah.
guess what? You cannot get a heart attack if you do aerobic exercise for 20 minutes 3 times a week and practice
But
meditation 20
but
minutes a
that's too
day.
hard. But that's too hard. No, no, no. People don't want to do that. And this is the problem. People are feeling too lazy to do something physical, or whether it is learning something, they rather go and take some pills. They rather go and divorce. It's just easier.
So should I have to lose my job and my income because my business closes down for lazy people? No, that's what America is about, used to be about,
Mm,
is that we are all free. We are
yeah.
responsible for ourselves, not all this suck the nit of the government. And I'm all for,
Mm,
government support and whatever, but wise government support. We've just
yeah.
gone way overboard. And now we're listening to doctors to control our lives like this. The doctors who themselves know very little about health. Never do you hear, they're all saying, let's wait for the vaccination. It will save us. The vaccination will save. Vaccination never saved anybody from the flu.
Mm,
Do you know statistically more people get the flu who take the flu
yes.
vaccine?
That's true.
That's
That's true.
true. Nobody, so what are we taking flu vaccines? And now we're gonna, and also the CDC reported that if you took the vaccine the year before, 2018 and 2017, you are more vulnerable to getting the flu and having it more
Marvelous.
devastating because see, the flu weakens your immune system. It doesn't allow
Yes.
your immune system to stay in gear and whatever. So what we have is not a COVID virus epidemic. We have an epidemic of people who eat too much and don't exercise and don't love, period.
That's true. And we're not
And
looking after themselves before.
they're not taking care of themselves. They're not taking responsibility for their health.
Yeah.
We become so weak and so dependent. Now let me throw this back on our relationships. Anytime you're angry with your partner, you're so weak and you're so dependent on your partner for your happiness. 80% of our happiness we need to come from ourselves. So
Mhm.
this is really, I look at what's happening. It's like a timeout for everybody. On one level, it's a disaster. I'm so sorry for people's business and everything, but also it's a time where we have to really look. Well, it's an opportunity. Danger is risk, but also opportunity. We can all grow from this if we have the wisdom to do it. So I want to give something right now, because I know we have a limited amount of time. We've only touched the surface of relationship skills from John
I
Gray.
know.
But
And I feel like, oh, please, can we have another 9 hours? Because it
yes,
gets so
we
much
can
here.
we can do it again. But let me do my COVID special.
Oh,
This is
please. Yes, please.
this is something I invented, which I'll continue doing. Okay, now we know basically all conflict arises, escalating conflict. I gave one reason, which is we talk when we're upset. Stop talking, couples, please. Don't go after him, women, when he pulls away in his cave. Let him be there. Let him go to his cave, the whole COVID thing. You're a happy person. You don't depend on him for happiness. Just let that be the case. When he leaves his socks around, whatever, don't pick them up. Just learn to be happy with socks on the floor. Your job is to do what, if you pick them up, it's because you want to pick them up. Don't do anything you don't want to do. That's called you're an autonomous person. You're not dependent on him for your happiness. Don't go to him for your happiness. And then he won't make it worse for you because most guys don't know how to deal with your unhappiness. And you're trying to get him to make you happier. He's just going to feel like he's failed you. And now you're making him unhappy. And the problem gets worse. So this is a time, the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule is 80% of your happiness needs to come from your life. Now, but the problem is that works most of the time. But right now, you don't have your life. You don't have all your
Mhm.
friends. You don't have all your interactions. You don't have your grocery stores. You're waiting in line. You're living in fear. You're wearing stupid masks, all this stuff. Okay. So what do? This is a time of supercharging your emotions. Okay. So I'm sorry, supercharging your hormones. So this is the
Right.
ultimate hormone supercharger because all imbalance happens where we're out of the front part of the brain because our hormones are out of balance. So women
Mhm.
need to bump up your estrogen, men need to bump up their testosterone, and that can give us a little more peace and calm so we're not so dependent on each other because we got a big dose. Okay, it's like you're hungry. Okay,
Mhm.
you need something. If you eat, you're not hungry for a while. So this is to give you a big dose of what you would need from your partner. So it's called a genie in the bottle. Okay, now he's the genie and you're going to rub the bottle. And what it means to rub the bottle is you're going to ask for help.
Right. Love that.
For 20 minutes, she's not allowed to do anything for herself except ask for help. That means if you want to eat, he has to feed you. You can ask for a massage. You can say, go upstairs, give him directions. He doesn't do anything But this genie is different from the traditional one. You only get 3 wishes. You get as many wishes as possible in 20 minutes. And during this time, you have to tell him exactly what to do, and he happily does it. In the first 5 minutes, maybe he's not so happy because he's feeling kind of grumpy, his testosterone levels are low. That's okay. Fake it. Just pretend. And maybe she doesn't want to ask for help because she's too grumpy. He's unreliable. Why should I ask? This doesn't mean anything. Just that's your not real self. That's your not loving self. Just put it in, suppress it, put it away. It doesn't serve any purpose. Fake it. So this is where you're in a fight or flight response, easy to fake. So fake it. And he's like a flight attendant in first class. Oh, what would you like? Oh, Mr. Gray, can I bring this to you? Anything you wish, ask me. I'm your personal flight attendant. See, that's to give men an idea of what a genie does, this particular genie. And so you unlimited wishes during that 20 minutes. Now, during the 20 minutes means this is not a time for her to say, now I want you to always remember to call me at 3 o'clock when you're at work. Okay, that's tomorrow. Or I need you to go tomorrow. I want you to be sure that you go and do this. No, nothing of outside this 20 minutes. It's simply request, response, request, response, request, response. Now, here's the interesting thing about estrogen. When a woman is happy, it's one of the ideas of Men Are From Mars that men don't instinctively understand, is that every act of love scores equal to every other act of love, big or small. So if I do something big for a woman and she's happy, she's happier. That's 1 point. It's not 50 points. If I give her 50 roses, in a man's mind, well, that's 50 points. So secretly, we're always keeping score, particularly women. They go, I give and I give, but what's he doing for me? And I give and I give. And so I mean, basically every day you pretty much get 3 points, which is you go to work, you come home, and you're married. That's 3 automatic points. She's doing the same thing, so the score is equal.
Yeah.
And then she does something nice in her mind. She goes, oh, I'm going to make dinner for him. I know he likes salmon. She gives herself a point for liking salmon, not knowing he likes salmon, knowing he likes it. Then going to the store and getting the salmon. Oh, I'm getting this for my husband. Oh, I want to get this. What else can I do for him? Every time she does something little for him, she gives herself a point. She makes the table very nice if she made dinner. And I go into warning zones if my wife has put out placemats with matching napkins and a candle. I go, okay, she's already scored 30 points. And she's going to look at me as 30 points to my 3 is now 27-0. I'm a 0 in her.
Yes.
So she's done all this stuff for me. I have to start getting points. So how do you get points? Understand 50 roses. If a woman has well-being, 50 roses is just 1 point. 1 rose is 1 point. Same estrogen response. Now, if she has low estrogen, 50 roses is basically 1 point. And a little thing is no points. So clearly, estrogen, you need estrogen to have little things make a bigger difference. So you got to build on that. You do a little thing, you get a little estrogen. Do a big thing, you get a little estrogen. This is an unhappy woman. You can't just go do something big and her be happy. It's just, some guys will go out and buy something fancy for their wife when she's unhappy. And she says, you think you can buy my happiness?
Exactly.
Too little, too late.
Exactly.
So it's a lot of little things that say it's safe for me to depend on him. It's safe for me to feel my need for his love. And all this sort of safety starts to rise. And when she can ask for something, you always get double estrogen points if she asks and he does. If he does, you get an estrogen point. If she asks, you get more estrogen. Why? Because if she asks, it means she's trusting him.
Yeah.
Okay, that means she's safe. Now, certainly a man can win a woman over by doing things without her having to ask. And that's also possible. You can do things. But once you're in a relationship, you've got these little resentments built up. His brain doesn't actually think what those things are. He doesn't have the natural motivation to do that. So we're talking about unrealistic. So realistic is basically women identify something that you have to do and now you don't get to do it. He has to do it for you. Or something you'd enjoy him to do for you that would make you happier. Either one. You're not allowed to do anything for 20 minutes and he does everything for you. And you ask for every little detail and every interaction. So you want to ask as many little things because every little thing keep pumping the estrogen up higher. And then 20 minutes, you're done. You're supercharged. And then the game's over. Then you can't just suddenly ask for everything, whatever. And you feel good. It's kind of like, it's even good at that point to, well, to do whatever you feel like doing. Maybe he wants to go back to his cave, and maybe she wants to go hang out with her friends. That's okay. Or maybe they want to spend more time together. There's no rule on what happens afterwards. But during the game, he serves her, and she has her own personal genie. She's flying first class. This is a wonderful tool. And I've been teaching this a lot during this time. And people are telling me their wives love it. Their wives love it. And then some people say to me, some women say to me, well, what can we do for the men? I say, this is for the men.
Yes, exactly. It is. Do nothing. Just ask for help.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Hey, we want to feel successful without having to do a lot, 20 minutes, well, that's a big deal, a lot of things. So having said that, for the gay couples, they should reverse it. They should take turns, okay? If they're gay couples, they both have a male and female side that needs to be nourished and touched. So the one who tends to be more dominant one, they're the one that'll be the genie first, but it's good to reverse it. Also, you can play this game as well before going to bed and then see what it does for your making love. You can even play this game when you're making love, but once you've been playing it outside for a while, then it's even fun. And then when you're in the bedroom, then you can also switch. The bedroom is such a hormone booster that, because see, when a man has a climax, his testosterone shoots way, way up, and his estrogen shoots way, way up. And the only reason he finishes it is because his estrogen went too high.
Right.
That's ejaculation results when a man's estrogen goes higher than his testosterone. So in making love, there's so much estrogen, so much testosterone. It's fun to role play where, and you see this in the movies a lot today. You'll see that the woman, that the guy sort of gives the kiss, and then the woman kind of goes, I don't know. And then she kisses him back. Now she becomes the aggressor, and the guy does all these wooing things, and she's playing a little hard to get, so to speak, or she's not ready yet. And then they get into the bedroom, then she throws him down and she's jumping all over him, So these are the play of the male-female energies. And I'm all for that. There's no problem with a man going to his female side. And, I used to, I didn't always understand all of these details, but I used to teach men, and sex, don't make a lot of noise, for women to make more noise. But now I've learned that actually let her make noise, then you can make noise, and let her make noise. Going back and forth, you can actually learn how to last longer in sex if you're a man by learning for women who tend to take a long time to have an orgasm.
Right.
Which is watch how their body moves, watch the noises they make. That's so just to learn a little bit of that and then go back to your male side, but to do it back and forth. In my men only classes, I teach men exercises, how to last longer in sex.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating.
It is fascinating. It's quite wonderful. And women appreciate it a lot. And but the basic exercise, there's many exercises, many techniques and so forth, but one that any man can start doing now is to model Baryshnikov. You know who Baryshnikov is? Baryshnikov in my day was this famous ballet dancer.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's also known to be a super stud. He wasn't gay. Okay. He was there for the women, and they were there for him because he had developed the muscles. When you see ballet, you see they cross their feet and they go up and down on their toes. Okay. What that does is it trains you to thrust forward without squeezing your anus, but by squeezing your buttocks together. So your anus remains relaxed all the time. That prevents the tension from building up in the prostate where you have to release. Is the contraction of the anus when you thrust. So if you do, I think it's called pliés, is when you do a pliés, is, I do 18 every day. Okay, you do 18 pliés, all the arms up, legs go down, and the whole time being concentration that you're actually, when you're going up, you're doing somewhat of a thrust forward, but your anus is not contracting. The whole muscle of your leg and your buttocks is holding you up. And those muscles will allow you to go on as long as you wish. Yeah. It's quite a delightful thing. And there are you see these porn stars. This is just for the guys to know. These are guys who have low estrogen. Either if you have a lot of love, That's estrogen. So quite often, the more you love your partner, the shorter sex is,
Mm-hmm.
because you get to the ejaculation too soon. Because you love so much. You feel, oh, surrender, I love you,
Yeah.
you're everything. But great sex opens a man's heart. There's no question about it if the woman's enjoying it. That's the whole secret. And men need to have sexual skills to make sure she enjoys it, because women are different from men.
Yeah.
And you can't instinctively know. You have to learn from women teaching you, or from books teaching you. So if you don't want to have an interview with your wife and that's not comfortable, for most men it's not, you can read my book,
Yeah.
Mars, Venus in the Bedroom, together. And also you practice those exercises every day. Just when she sees you doing the exercises, she goes, oh, he's doing that for me.
Exactly. That's one of the genius exercises. Wow. Well, I must say, John, that seriously, I could speak to you probably for another 9 or maybe even 10 hours, because there's so much value. And I mean, the courses for men, what you do right now, and also the other books which you've written, definitely people need to go on your website and just buy that old book, all those courses. And I must say, the fascinating course which I found out you have right now is how to get everything in your relationships. And it's quite fascinating because I was like really curious what it's all about. But actually it gives you option to put who you are, female, male, and your age, and apparently then you have your videos. So I'm
Yeah,
really curious what
it's,
is all about.
it's a 4-day class. It's really quite wonderful. I did it with my daughter. She's much more organized than me. Lauren's 34. She's been a great relationship for 10 years. I mean, she adopted all, she saw all this stuff. She grew up with all this.
Of
And
course.
and she's really an expert. And she has got me with her to put together this free class online for people. If they go to marsvenus.com, and
Yes.
it will do a little questionnaire first. Are you single man, single woman, married woman? And then there's 4 different courses you get according to your relationship
Yeah.
status. And and we take you through the very basics of how to get everything you want in your relationship. And getting everything you want in a relationship doesn't mean you get it today. It
Yes.
means you're on the road to getting it. It's like, this is the step, but every step following the steps, you will get more and more and more. Because our philosophy is complaining about not having enough ruins relationships. And often our solution to that is to say, don't want more. Okay. And that really is an old belief on the planet for a long time. If you want to be happy, just give up desire. But desire is passion. See, people today want passion, and just being happy with what you got is good. And the way people get there is by saying, well, I'm happy with what I got, I don't want more. No, wanting more is okay. It's just how to get it. When
Yes.
you know how to get more, then there's no complaints, because you're getting more. And you're not changing somebody, they're changing to give you more, because you're giving them more of what they need. So it's a whole art to correctly interpreting your partner's behaviors. Because there was a study done, there's several on this idea, but one in India, I like that one the best. And it's if you're out, they have these lakes with little boats, and you're boating on the lake. And if somebody bumps your boat by mistake, there's a little ouch, and oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But if somebody bumps your boat, the same bump, and they intended to bump you, it's war.
Oh yeah.
See, I can step on your foot by mistake, or I can intend to step on your foot. So if we interpret our partner's intent as not loving, then we tend to overreact. And I would say that everything couples experience in terms of dissatisfaction in their marriages is an overreaction. I know that's a bold thing to say, but it's my experience,
Mm-hmm.
which means there's no reason to ever not be happy. And wouldn't that be a great belief to have? And wouldn't it be great if you saw that anytime you're unhappy, and I get unhappy, and I'm able to look at, okay, how am I creating this? And then how can I ask for what I want and get more?
Yeah.
Because it's we need to be responsible for our reactions inside, and you have no control over them when your hormones are out of balance. All you have control over is the adrenaline response. Now, stress starts when you're not getting what you want. You feel threatened in some way, and if it's around love, it's a greater threat. So our first response when we're not getting what we want and we don't have safety is adrenaline. Adrenaline you can measure in the body. If adrenaline doesn't quickly dissipate, that means very quickly I de-escalate. I'm starting to escalate. If I don't quickly
Mm-hmm.
de-escalate, then the body releases cortisol. And cortisol doesn't go away quickly. That's what happens. You get an argument in a fight, you don't talk for 3
Yeah.
days.
Yes,
because the
exactly.
cortisol response is still in the body. Your heart
Yeah.
cannot be open. Now, if your heart closes because of cortisol, it doesn't mean it's not going to open up again. And
Mm,
this is more dramatic in men. Okay, so when a man has a cortisol response, it looks like he doesn't love you at all. I mean,
right.
literally, his love is gone. When a woman has a cortisol, she doesn't fully relate to that. And then his love will come back completely. Like he can close completely and open completely. That's his caring. Caring, he goes into, I don't care about you. I don't care about this. Oh, if you can't be happy, we should just end this stupid relationship. You know, he goes into some all or nothing. I care about you. I don't care about you. Okay,
Yes,
that's the craziness in men, if we look at that extreme. The craziness in women is I trust you. I don't trust
I
you.
don't trust
I
you.
can't trust you. You're unreliable. You didn't do, I just can't open my heart to you. I can't trust you. But she still feels caring. See,
Yeah.
that's the confusing thing for women is that they still feel, oh, I care about him and everything. I just can't
Hmm.
trust him. And what they don't know is when you care for a man and demonstrate caring for him, when you don't trust him, that caring is toxic. It's a poison. It's a, oh, I'm thinking about something I don't remember the name for. It's when the something horse that goes, the Greeks did it when they snuck the army in inside of a horse.
Oh,
Uh,
yes, it
uh,
was the Troy horse, no?
the
The
Trojan
big
horse,
horse.
the
Yes.
Trojan horse. So when women demonstrate caring and they're not appreciating a man, not accepting a man, or
Yeah.
not trusting him, he's unreliable. I have to take care of him. He's like a child. Women actually sometimes proudly say, oh, my husband's like a child. I have to take care of everything for him. And basically what she's saying is I'm not getting what I need. And that's behind every,
Mm.
I have to care about him because really if I care about him, they're hoping maybe he'll care about me someday, but I don't trust him. That
Yeah.
lack of trust is poison to men. Now you can't trust someone to be perfect. You don't
Mm-mm.
have to you trust someone to be perfect to trust them. Uh, it's, you know, I trust him to be a good driver. I trust him to work hard. I trust that he loves me. I trust that he does his best. And when he doesn't call, I trust that he still loves me, even though he didn't do what I
Yes.
wanted him to do. You see, we go right into, see, I can't rely on him. I can't trust him. And they close their heart that way, but they don't know they've closed their heart
Yeah.
because they have this mothering part of them, which will come in because you can't trust a child to do anything, but you can still love them. So women cannot trust, but also love. Whereas men, when they go into, I don't care, they don't feel threatened by you. They actually,
Hmm.
they feel I can do what I want. They trust, they have
Yeah.
confidence that they can go out and find somebody else or whatever. Then they go out and they don't find somebody else. Men go into,
Exactly. And then they come back.
then they come back. That's right. That's right.
Exactly. Then they
Uh,
come back and say, well, I'm sorry.
that's right. That's exactly it. Uh, and
Yeah.
you know, actually, it's that not caring. When men go into not caring, what they're doing is lowering their estrogen.
Mm.
When women go into uh, when women go into this not trusting but caring, they're raising their estrogen. They're trying to produce. They're trying to be like mothers to him as
Yeah.
opposed to lovers to him. So for us men, when we detach, we're
Yes.
actually trying to push the estrogen away to let the testosterone come back up. And that's his cave time. And for women, it's a different process. We're different. If they can share and express how they feel to somebody that supports them, their estrogen levels will come up. Then they're able to come back and look at their partner and go, you know, he doesn't do this and this and this, but he does this, this,
Yeah.
this, and this. And it balances. See, women have this amazing ability to see the negativity, but also love a man because there's also benefits to it. See, there's a positive side to it and there's a negative side to it. And that's what love really is. That's real love.
Yeah.
This fake love is when we don't know any of the negative and we love someone. That's the
Hmm.
falling in love is we don't really know somebody yet. but there's still a wisdom to falling in love because there is something to do with genes. You know, there
Right.
is something called genetic compatibility with people. And sometimes our genes will be activated in order, because there's a potential for harmony with that person. There's a potential for growth with that person. Also, some people we get involved with because there's a potential to relive our childhood trauma. That's a
Yes.
psychological attraction. So a
Absolutely.
lot of different reasons for attraction. But ultimately, all attraction is because we don't, in the beginning, it's because we don't know the person, because we don't know them
Yes.
and we're attracted to them. So you say, oh, I'm really in love with them, but actually, are you?
You're just curious. You're just
Yeah,
curious. It's unknown. It's new. It's exciting.
that's why it's new, exciting, and you just seeing the positive. The brain goes into seeing the
Yeah.
positive, and that's good. And
Yeah.
I realized that when I'll share that experience with Bonnie, when after we started doing the hugs, I started learning how important hugs were to
Hmm.
lower the testosterone in her, producing oxytocin, which would help her to relax. And so one day she was kind of upset and overwhelmed, stressed, and I must have done something little, and it just triggered her. And
Exactly.
she was sort of ignoring me, and and of course that's why women misinterpret men's cave, because in a cave we ignore you. So
Yeah.
if a woman ignores a man, usually she's mad at him.
Exactly.
Or she doesn't feel safe. She doesn't feel safe, and she doesn't feel like I want to open up to you, so she's pulling away. So in that case, she pulled away. So I thought, okay, I'll try the hug thing. So I went over and I did a 10-second hug. And I just put my arms around her, and she was like cold and stiff. And about 6 seconds,
Oh.
she started to soften, and then a nice little squeeze, and she took a deep breath.
Yeah. And relaxed.
And then finished the hug. And she said, John, that was really smart of you. I said, what did I do?
Yeah.
And she said, that hug, before you gave me a hug, all I could think about is the things that you haven't done right. But then as
Mhm.
the hug progressed, I started remembering, that you made that orange juice for me. You picked up the kids the other day. You went shopping with me, and these memories start coming back of the positive experiences. And
Yes.
that's why, a new relationship, it can't even get close to a great relationship.
Yeah.
Time, because you have so many positive memories that build on each other, that builds the trust. But just keep in mind, if you're in fight or flight, you experience temporary amnesia, and they all
True.
go away. They all go away. Is that you can measure this biologically. The positive memories go away when you're in fight or flight. So you want to be able to benefit from the time you spent
Yes.
together by learning to keep those hormones balanced. And when fight or flight comes, to know that this is a temporary insanity. It's just temporary. We can go back into our little worlds to rebuild our hormones, and then we can give our partner what they need if we need to help them. But the most important thing is just don't make it worse for them. See, that's really how we do it. If I go to my cave, don't look at me like you're going to be hurt until I come out. Okay,
Exactly.
I'll never come out of the cave. You see,
Yeah.
and if a woman's upset, don't tell her you're making a big deal out of this. It's not a big deal. Didn't you hear John Gray talking? This is all just fake evidence. You're misinterpreting. That's not what happened. I did. Just let her help me understand it better. Help me
Yes.
understand better, and realize that people's understanding as they talk, particularly a woman, will change. It
Absolutely.
changes just like the weather. A bad weather day turns into a good weather day.
Thanks, John. Thanks. But you're so right. And you're so right. And I love these beautiful examples which you have actually in the book when you describe woman behavior in this powerful way, when you give metaphor as a weather, because then it's so much easier to understand.
Yes,
But I
yes.
think what you're given today is so invaluable. And John, I really admire you for all of that. I mean, seriously, I'm very aware that you probably have to go and you have more appointments to come. So
Yeah,
I'm
yes, I have time. Time is yes.
yeah, yeah.
Great.
So I
Thank
must
you.
let you go. I must let you go, but I'm so, so grateful and I thoroughly enjoy that. And today what you have shared is it's a real encyclopedia about sexuality, about intimacy, about gay couples and straight couples, about feelings, about cravings. I mean, seriously, I was just blown away by all the value what you have shared. But what I will do, I will definitely make sure I'll share the link to your website where people can find about your newer book, which is about beyond Mars and Venus for today's type of relationships. And I'll also make sure I will share that amazing course, which you just mentioned, how to get everything you want in relationships. Because beyond what you shared already during this an hour and something where we have conversation, there's so much more to learn from you. And I'm eager to learn more as well myself.
Thank you
So
so
thank you so
much.
much. Thank you.
You're very welcome. It's a real pleasure for me. Thank you.
Thank you. I really enjoyed that. And everybody who was watching us, please make sure you take some action from today because nothing can be more powerful than not only learning, but also applying everything what you learn. Because John is an amazing, happy relationships. Look at him. He's absolutely blooming. Right? And so can you. But it all will take some time, just like those 10 seconds. of that hug which John gave to Bonnie. Thank you so much for watching us. Thank you so much, John, for joining me. Take care. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.